Going. And we are convened at 8:05. Mr. Secretary, would you call the roll?
All right, we've already got Alstad as being absent. Mr. Barber,
Present.
Benner,
Present.
Bergman,
Here.
Bowman. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
There and what kind of energy there is, what kind of organization, and just what the prospects look like there.
Somebody's got a mic open. Can we close that? All right, I was at Bowman. They
See
appeared.
him here.
All right, just to be absent. Spank,
Present.
Choco,
Here.
Eiler,
I am here.
Enzer from Pennsylvania,
I don't see him.
Johnson, Texas,
Present. Present. Did you get that?
Yep. I'm just copying it right now. Labrie,
I don't see him either.
okay, absent. Leatherman,
Here.
McCose,
Present.
Melton. All right, it's an absence. And I'm pretty sure I'm here. Mr. Seebeck is here. Joel from Georgia. It's an absent. Thompson,
I'm here.
Weir. Mr. Weir here.
No.
Okay. Now let's go over the alternates. Mr. Chatterton. Absent. Edwards. Clift. Gonzalez. Goodley. Harlos.
She is here, but she had to step away for a minute.
Okay. Marinovich. Absent. Matz.
Present.
Osborne. Redmond. Rogers.
I'm here and I'm driving through mountains. So, Mr. Chair, if I drop out now and then, please let me back in.
No problem.
Romig.
Here.
And Veldhuizen.
Here.
All right, Mr. Chair, if you could read off whatever guests you see, I'll put them in.
I don't see any, actually.
All right, Mr. Chair, we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Looks like 12 primary delegate or primary members present. The quorum is 11, as I recall. And are we making any of those alternates? Are we seating any of the alternates for this meeting?
If I'm reading my list correctly, Mr. Romig from Mr. Ensor, Pennsylvania.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Enzer is running late. He'll eventually take over, but I'll hold down for now.
Alrighty. And let's see, Colorado's alternates are not here. Michigan's alternate is not here. California's alternate is not here. Nevada and Georgia primaries are not here, nor are their alternates. So yeah, that's at the moment.
Okay, so it's just Mr. Brumby for Enzer.
For the moment, yes.
In that case, we have what did I say before 12? So we have 13. 13 seated.
Alrighty.
Are all the
Moving on to-
LNC reps here?
We have, let's see, Mr. Benner is here, Mr. Brooksbank is here,
Anybody else about any other states where they were?
Ms. Eiler is here, and Mr. Montoni and myself are all here, yes.
Okay, perfect.
What was,
And so is
Chair, there is
Mr.
some-
Velvizen and of course yourself. As alternates.
Mr. Chair, there is some crosstalk. Can we ask those, whoever's got their mic open to please turn it off for the moment?
I got that covered. There we go.
Thank you.
Alrighty, public comments. We have no public today. Not because we kicked them out, but because we just don't have any here. So are there any, excuse me, any public comment from the committee members? Mr. Barber.
I just wanted to make a note that I will not be present at next week's meeting with I have another meeting for a completely different group unassociated with the party here. But yes, I will not be here next Tuesday. We do have an ex-con meeting Saturday, and I want to try to push a little harder to have a alternate available for us. So, thanks.
Ms. Harlos.
Sorry, I had to find my unmute. Just wanted to bring it up in case anyone on the committee wanted to bring it up as a motion or a request. But in discussing the issue with Mr. Jacobs of whether or not this committee could ask the LNC for consent to pass a special rule of order to limit debate at any point, he's of the opinion that we could. So if there's a taste for wanting the ability to call the question, just let me know and I'll make the motion on the LNC.
Well, this is the point to really bring that up. So what is the feeling of the committee on that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, what's the issue?
I'm sorry, Mr. Secretary, go ahead.
What was that issue that she was bringing up?
The question is for the committee, what is the committee's feel about petitioning the LNC for approval to allow us to call questions in this committee?
I mean, I don't feel like we're having any real problem with significant, dilatory nonsense. So I am not inclined to try to take any action in that regard.
Alrighty. If people feel otherwise, we'll check in on it again at the end of the meeting. But let's continue with public comment for the moment. Ms. Eiler.
I had a question about the meeting the day before convention, the meeting of this committee. What goes on? What's that all about? This is my first season, my first term on platform committee, so I'd like to know a little bit more about that, if you could share.
Sure. Generally, what that meeting comes down to is any last minute adjustments to the report, final review to make sure that we have everything in the way we want it to be. The base report by that point had already been sent up to the national for printing and putting in convention programs, all that good stuff. But if there's any last minute stuff to throw in or take out, that's when we address it.
Thank you.
Mr. Brooksbank. Is that a wave off? Yeah, okay, he's waving himself off. So, all righty, any other public comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
In the spirit of allowing others to participate as our officers, I'd like to make my intention known that I would like to give up the secretary's chair as of the end of March. Somebody else can take it up through the end of the convention.
Alrighty, so noted. We will need to, pardon the expression, draft a replacement. Don't everybody volunteer at once, give it some thought, if we have some time to sort it out between now and the next meeting.
Yeah, you
Thank you for bringing it
don't want me to do
to
it.
our attention well in advance. Alrighty, any further public comment? Okay, hearing none, we will go into the minutes for the February 27th and the March 5th meetings. The Mr. Montoni has put the link in chat for the minutes for this meeting, but in parallel, you will find minutes for the previous two. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Are there any adjustments or amendments that need to be made to either of those sets of minutes? Is there any objection to approving those minutes? Hearing none, the minutes for the February 27th and the March 5th meeting are approved. At this point, we will move on to the next item of business, which is our new proposals. The first one up is a proposal for dealing with veterans. I will share my screen momentarily here as soon as I find it. There it is. Should be able to see that, I hope. Alrighty, this is my proposal, so I'm going to talk to it directly. This is one that I have put before this committee a couple of times in the past 2 terms. Last term, it had been approved by the committee up until the last second when it was then stricken from the report, much to my unhappiness. The proposal here is this. We've got a large contingency of veterans in this country who are more libertarian than you might think. They've also been abandoned or neglected or let down by the government in terms of helping them in response for their care, for what they were entitled to in exchange for their service. That's why we have a problem with homeless vets and similar issues. I've been around veterans in this party for all of my time in this party. I've talked with many of them in crafting this. The premise here is that there is a difference between the policy that the government puts out and the people that they are putting out to implement that policy and put them in harm's way. Oftentimes we get those two conflated. And to be fair, I've heard the stories of what happened back in the Vietnam era. We don't need to do that again. So the proposal here, I'll read it in a second, get the chat back up again. Can someone post a link to my proposals? Yeah, they're in the draft folder, Mr. Secretary. So I will read off the proposal as follows. Taking the 3.1 National Defense Plank and adding the following sentences to the end. We believe the best way to honor our veterans is to craft and implement policies of non-aggression, no undeclared wars, invasions, or occupations, while recognizing the difference between veterans and the policies they are sent out to implement, and by honoring the government's contractual commitment to their complete lifetime mental and physical care, both during and after their service. Mr. Secretary, Mr. Bowman has just entered the meeting.
Thank you.
So that is the motion to adopt that. Mr. Brooksbank has his hand raised first. Go ahead, sir.
I am in favor of this. As a veteran myself, we do need to separate ourselves, from, like I have a bumper sticker that says support the troops, not the people who sent them. And I think this wording does exactly that. And I do have a couple questions though. Is this going to be like the if A happens, then this is what we propose? Because with the other change to the national defense plank, is
That's
it
a
going to be
question we can
if that passes, will you
fair
understand what I'm
question.
getting at?
Fair question. And when we have proposals that are not conflicting, that's not the right way to put it, but when we have multiple proposals on the same plank, what we tend to do is we will take what we have agreed to go in the report and we'll try to reconcile them or order them accordingly at a later date.
Okay. And I'm not too sure that this wouldn't be better as a standalone plank, but that's just my feeling. Overall, I support this. Thank you.
And Mr. McCose, then Mr. Barber, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Cholko. Mr. McCose.
I would like to first apologize for my insincere comments on this, but isn't there no such thing as a free lunch? So wouldn't this require taxes to be paid for to be extracted and then used towards the mental and physical care, being that doctors do not work for free? I just would like to, it's not that I don't agree with this, it's that it does kind of contrast our, belief in taxation as theft.
To answer the question, that's already happening. But it is a contractual requirement that when a person signs up, or if they're conscripted, much as we hate to hear that, that they are entitled to having that contract honored. And growing up in an area with 5 military bases and neighbors who are in the military and have had trouble getting treatment for their issues post-service, everything from simple injuries to PTSD to addictions and you name it, they've been let down, and that's not appropriate for anybody to walk away from their obligations, including the government. Yes, there's a taxation purpose attached to it, no doubt about that. But then again, it's hard to escape that for anything with government, to be fair. Mr. Barber.
Well, I guess I'm just going to say that I just agree with Mr. Brooksbank, especially, and your comments as well, Mr. Chair. I think this particular statement stands on its own, does not need correction. And I also believe that whatever else we do with this plank as a committee and whatever else is attached at the convention even, I believe that in any case, this statement should be added onto the end of whatever else is done, unless it becomes redundant due to other additions or whatever. Thanks.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really love the spirit of getting something about this for veterans. Veterans are one of the most important groups that we have to reach in the Libertarian Party, one of the easiest groups to reach, and one of them that we have the clearest positive message for. That said, for this particular edition, I have two really fatal issues with it. The first, in terms of what was just mentioned about the taxation problem, this committee already passed a proposal on the debt repudiation, where we heavily disputed this issue of whether the government was contractually obligated to fulfill its commitments. And this committee has put forward a proposal that says we disagree that the government's contracts are legitimate contracts. So this would create a direct contradiction within the platform on that latter part of the statement. Whether this committee wants to go back and repudiate itself, pun intended, and fix that, that would have to be done before this could proceed, or we would have a very deep divide in the platform. The other issue I have with it is that as somebody who builds social media bites and stuff, this is something that begs to have what was referred before to as a bumper sticker, right? With something like, we believe the best way to honor our veterans is to bring them home, full stop, drop mic, something like that. This is a very long run-on sentence that doubles the length of the plank, and I don't think there's any way to easily consolidate this into the sort of sound bites that I would love to use, little meme images, that sort of things that I would love to just pull language out of here and use to sell the party to veterans. And I would love to help draft up something that would be more like that, because I would love to support something like that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I would point out that a past version of this proposal stated, and I quote, "We believe the best way to honor our veterans is to not make more of them."
Amen.
But that had been trimmed down because of adding these other pieces about here, honoring and respecting their side of the deal. Mr. Choko.
Thank you. So I agree with a lot of the stuff that's been said previously. I'm largely on board with the first kind of half of this edition, but I can't get behind the last part of this sentence that is contradictory to stuff that we have proposed elsewhere in the platform, as the last speaker just mentioned. I'm going to offer an amendment. I guess this would be an amendment of changing it on the fly based on something that was just said. But I would like to replace essentially all of this with the statement that we believe the best way to honor our veterans is to not make more of them. So that would take away everything from craft on and add in the words, not make more of them. And I'm just putting that text in chat right now.
If I can spell, that would be helpful. All righty. I'm going to treat this as a substitute. Only because I think it's an easier way to resolve it. So at this point, we have the primary, which I proposed, and we have primary, and we have the substitute that Mr. Choko has proposed. So we will work to perfect one and then the other. So because the secondary is shorter, we're going to start with the primary to perfect it a little farther. And we will get back to the substitute. Ms.
Let
Hurwitz,
me.
you're the expert on this. Correct me if I get things wrong.
A point of parliamentary inquiry then.
Yes.
So we can, if we're working on let's just say we're working on the primary, what are our limitations on amending that? Are there any?
Perfect the language of what's in blue. We don't really touch what's in black.
Okay, but we're not losing a level of amendment here.
We have law, there is one level amendment with a substitute, so there is one level below that still available.
So what we could do right now would be we could amend the primary and not then amend that proposed amendment, right?
Correct, or vice versa.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Mr. Bowman, do you wish to speak to the main or the substitute?
The main?
Go ahead.
By the way, I apologize for being so late. I would recommend, I have actually in the chat, the language, I would like to append at the end of the main.
Okay, that would be in order, I believe.
And I can read it out loud. You can see it in there.
I've got it in front of me here, but go ahead and read it out loud anyway.
Sure. However, any compensation for service must be raised by voluntary means free of aggression.
And typing it rather than cutting and pasting just to keep the formatting. So bear with me for a moment. We'll get it there. Again, if I can type, it always helps.
I mean, the brevity caucus might think the last clause is unnecessary since voluntary means free of aggression, but I don't know. Emphasis.
Alrighty. You would speak to that amendment?
I guess. I mean, I think it's pretty much obvious what I'm doing here, but it's addressing the matter that was already brought up, and I thought of immediately when I read this, which is that, well, we just got done saying that contractual arrangements by government were not valid, basically, because it was an aggressive entity, and the arguments, you know, that this whole thing is about the contracts with the veterans. In a sense, they are victims. I mean, that much is clear in my opinion of the state for the most part. I figured this one addresses the issue that we already condemn taxes. We already condemn aggression and the building up of a debt that costs us indirectly. What this does is it says these people did something that they deserve to be compensated for. They deserve to be treated well. We just don't support aggression as a means to do that.
Ready. Mr. Rogers, did you wish to speak to the primary, the amendment to the primary, or the substitute?
I think I can speak to all three. And
Please
that
pick
is
one.
this.
No, hold on,
All right.
hold on. I'm trying to
Well,
capture who's going where in the line here. So which one?
The first, yours.
The primary. Okay. I will
The
put you on the
primary.
list for that. Ms. Harlow, same question.
The amendment.
Okay. And Mr. Brooksbank, same question.
The amendment to the primary.
Just trying to get everybody straight here so we're not overlooking anybody. I appreciate the patience. Alrighty, since we're still on and we're on the amendment to the primary, so Ms. Harlows.
Okay, Mr. Bowman, good to see you again, by the way. I'm not a member of the Brevity Caucus, by the way, but I probably am a member of the Let's Not Repeat Things Caucus. I think we're done with levels of amendment, and I can't make an amendment anyway, but I think voluntary means free of aggression. So I would highly suggest, if we're going to consider this, see, this is part of the problem with, substitutes that you can only go one deep. I don't know if you want to take my advice, Mr. Bowman, but I think that free of aggression is just really, really repetitive. And that probably be a wonderful amendment if you asked for permission to withdraw it and put it in there without free of aggression, but that's entirely up to you. I just think that that's what voluntary means. That's the definition of voluntary, I think, but.
I kind of thought of it, and you heard me comment after I read it out loud through the chair, if I may speak. I'm sorry, I kind of burst in.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut up now.
Okay, I didn't mean to be interrupting you either. I thought you were done. Is it okay, Mr. Seebeck, if I make a comment now about it?
I'll allow it this time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would accept that if there are no objections. I mean, if others feel that it really should be there, but actually after reading it out loud when you were inserting it, I thought of it for a second and realized exactly what she just said. So what Secretary Harlos just said. So if you want to drop that last clause of my addition, then I would have no problem. I mean, I guess I would be withdrawing and restating the amendment if I did that.
Okay, hold on. Let me think this through a second. I currently have Mr. Brooksbank, Mr. Choko, and Mr. Barber in queue, I believe, for the amendment. If is there an
Chalco doesn't
objection?
care if it goes away.
I'm sorry, say again.
I said I don't care if it goes away.
Alrighty. Is there an objection from the body to withdraw this amendment for the moment?
Well, I think what he's asking, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt.
ahead.
I think he's doing like the one thing that I used to like that Mr. Sarwark would do to move business along, though I may have had other complaints with him, he'd go, does anyone object to me saying, I think what I really heard Mr. Bowman is saying is that his amendment is, however, any compensation for service must be raised by voluntary means. Does anyone disagree that that's what I heard? That I used to love that he did that because Robert shouldn't get in the way of us doing something if nobody cares. But if someone cares, then quite obviously that's different.
The point is well taken. I personally object to the idea of having a substitute cut off one layer of amendment myself. But all right, we're gonna run a yellow light here, folks. The technical way to do this would be to withdraw the amendment and then repropose it without the free of aggression words. And that will get us exactly back to where we are now, minus those words. There seems to be pretty much agreement on taking those extra words out.
I think that's what I said to do.
Right. So to arrive at the same result a little faster in the spirit of what's been requested, is there any objection to withdrawing the words free of aggression from this amendment? I know it's technically violating the rules, but we could get there by following the rules also. It just would take longer. Hearing none, that's what we're going to do, and people can shoot me later.
Hopefully there won't be an appeal.
Well, as I said, Mr. Chair, if no one objected, then no one's rights are violated.
All righty. Now that being said, we made that minor adjustment. Mr. Secretary, Mr. Ensor did enter the meeting. I neglected to mention that to you. And I apologize for Mr. Ensor for the delay in announcing your arrival. Okay,
It's all good. Because I came in partway through this, the debate on this, I'm willing to defer to my alternate for the duration.
All right, thank you, sir. Most kind. All righty. So we're still on the amendment. I have Mr. Brooks make, excuse me, a fur ball in my throat, which doesn't count. Mr. Choko and Mr. Barber, I believe, all for the amendment. Mr. Brooksbank.
Yes, I would be in favor of this amendment. I think it addresses the concern about government taxation and forcing other people to pay the contract and everything. I mean, how they financed the revolution and that was with lotteries, so it's possible to raise the funds through voluntary means. So I would be in favor of the amendment. Thank you.
Mr. Choko.
Yeah, I mean, I like this amendment helps this proposal out substantially. Probably not enough to get me to vote for adopting this whole proposal, but it makes it a lot better. And it seems like everybody or most of us so far are on that same page. So I think we should just go ahead and add this. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Mr. Barber?
Hi, I guess it's just a question, for Mr. Bowman, when he says service, can I assume that he's primarily talking about, treatment and, other mostly medical related stuff, for veterans?
Mr. Bowman? You're muted.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, when you just wanted to know, when you say service in there, are you primarily talking about treatment and medical care, primarily at least, along with any other?
I would be service is what I'm thinking of is the service the veterans did for the country or the government in this case often. The compensation would be the treatment, wages, pensions, so forth. That kind of thing would be compensation for service. I didn't realize it was not clear.
Okay, because I'm thinking, right, all right, compensation would be, say somebody is being treated for a specific thing. Compensation would be the payment to the people providing that service, that treatment.
No, I'm talking about compensation to veterans. I thought this was all about what veterans get.
More like a paycheck kind of thing?
Compensation, if I'm doing a job, if I get a job, I think the word compensation would cover my payroll, my benefits, whatever promises are made in exchange for my service. My service being what I'm hired to do, regardless of what the job is.
Well, that's an interesting
I didn't realize that wasn't clear.
I'm going to interject here for a second on this. I read compensation for service, because we're talking about veterans here, to be their pensions, their medical treatment, their VA benefits, things like that, that are tied into their GI Bill, which comes into play also. Somebody needs to mute. We're getting some background noise.
So tired.
It's coming from the number ending with 258.
In the lounge closet there.
Okay, can I take the office? Take it.
Sorry, I had to do that. That's how I read it, and that's how I think most veterans would read it as well. Mr. Choco's already speaking to this. Mr. Rogers, I know you've been very patient. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. So I'm a 28-year veteran. Also did 12 years in local government, crafting platforms and legislative agendas and that sort of thing. And I'm new to the platform committee. And as I study the platform and now listen to different proposals, I observe that we suffer from a form of schizophrenia, in that while we all want Libertopia to come to pass, we find ourselves existing under a current government with a constitution and departments and so forth. And so the platform seems to be loaded with both ideals and complaints and practical solutions to what we currently have. And these two proposals are a microcosm of that schizophrenia. One says, no, in Libertopia, there will be no veterans. And the primary says, but we have veterans and we need to take care of them. I mean, ideally, I would love to see all the Libertopian ideals in the principles section. And then we have a platform of, given the world we're living in now, here are the changes we would like to see happen with what we currently have. Now, one way to do that might be to take Mr. Chalco's language and simply add to the end of it and say, until such time, and then read on with the primary, and until we live in a world where there are no veterans, then the ones we have should be taken care of. But to put such a plank as we want a world with no veterans, I don't think is very useful, especially since we identify earlier on in other places that we expect national defense as a government responsibility. I mean, our right to life has to be protected. We got to be protected from invasion. This is a proper function for government to do that. And we live under a constitution that has that set up. So we can't just say, oh, well, our platform is we don't ever want any veterans. That's not useful to anybody. So I would love us to try to keep that schizophrenia in mind as we go forward, because people want to read in a platform useful proposals. And that was my suggestion on how to actually combine these two and keep one principled and the other practical. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Any further debate on the amendment? One moment. That's what I'm looking for. There we go. All righty.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, sorry. I'm still not able to access that folder, and I'm going to need it to capture the text and to go to a vote or to record a vote.
Which is it the proposals draft folder or which specific folder?
Yes, the one you're on right now, 3.1 National Defense. I can't seem to get into that.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me I wonder why you're having access problems. That's weird. Let me see if this makes a difference. Sending an access request to your AMC ambassador page or email, excuse me. Hopefully that will work. We'll stand at ease for a second while the secretary gets caught up. While he's looking at that, I'm looking at the chat. Part of the problem with the platform is that this party does not have a program. It only has a platform. In general, a program outlines the steps in which the platform would be implemented. As a result, we kind of tend to roll parts of the program into the platform, what would be a program into the platform, and that creates some of the different languages and pieces that Mr. Rogers was referring to. It is something that if we were to ever implement a program would take a lot of work just because of the sheer bulk of the government going into enough details to present a functional plan to do that. So it's one of those deals where it's beyond the scope of this committee. It would take months, if not years, to come up with one. It needs to be done, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen. So that being said, we have what we have now, for better or for worse. All right, Mr. Montoni says he's harvesting the proposal in a few seconds, so we're close.
All right, Mr. Chair, if you can look at the minutes document, I believe I've captured what we're voting on now.
One quick moment. Let me get over to that. Whoops, that's not it. For some reason it took me to the wrong one. Okay, we are, there we go. Hold on a second. I'm gonna take a look real fast. And let's see. You have it captured correctly. Obviously, the rest of it you're filling in as you go, so no worries.
Thank you.
Okay. Just to reiterate, because we have a stand at ease, is there any further debate on the amendment? Okay, hearing none, we will move to a vote on the amendment. I will ask first, is there objection to the amendment?
Are we referring to now my amendment to the amendment?
Your amendment to say, to add the words, however, any compensation for service must be raised by voluntary means. Yes. So is there any objection to the amendment? Hearing none, that passes. We're now back to perfecting the main. All we did was add on that sentence. Is there any further discussion on the main? Okay, seeing none, we will move then on for the moment to the substitute. The substitute says we believe that the best way to honor our veterans is to not make more of them. I'm going to propose a minor amendment to this sentence. While the sentiment of not making more of them, I agree with completely. I don't quite think that make is the right word there. I believe that a better term for that would be along the lines of create, have is too broad, a little more specific. Ms. Harlos, do you have a suggestion?
Oh, I was getting for line for whatever. I like make, so
Okay,
I was just getting in line for whatever it was that you came up with. Maybe I'll like
all
it
right,
better.
I'm gonna hold that idea in abeyance and go ahead, Ms. Harlos.
Well, this is kind of like, yeah, okay. I'm probably going to irritate a bunch of libertarians in here, and I can say this as an autistic person. We get super autistic. Like when you say taxation and theft, and people go, "Well, actually, it's not theft; it's extortion." The saying, the popular saying is taxation is theft. This is kind of like almost a slogan. And it's the way it's worded. Like all these memes come out on Veterans Day and it uses that terminology. And while it might not be the most, you know, art, artsy prose, it's what people are familiar with.
Any other debate on the substitute?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
just for labeling purposes, the item that we just passed without objection, what was that? A substitute of a substitute?
So that was the amendment to the primary.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, is there any further debate on the substitute? Hearing none, we can move to a vote on that. Is there any objection to the substitute?
So wait a minute, this would be the substitute becoming the main motion, right? Or are we,
No, no.
what are we
your
voting on
point,
then?
Your point is well taken, Mr. Choco. I apologize. I had that completely wrong. I do apologize. We would cut the vote. You're right. Let's back up a half a step. I apologize. At this point, we would be looking to vote to make the substitute the primary. I believe that's where we're at. Mr. Bowman, did you wish to speak on the substitute, or do you have a point of order?
Oh, I wanted to speak as an objection to making the
Oh.
substitute the primary.
Okay, so there is an objection to that. Okay. So since there is an objection to doing so, we will move this to a vote.
There can be debate about the two. It's not an undebatable motion.
That's a fair point. So go ahead, Mr. Bowman, then.
Yeah, I believe the primary, while lengthy, is more clear and precise as to what we intend. And not that I disagree with the statement of the substitute, it's just very limited in what it says. And I mean, it like the secretary said, it's great. Bumper sticker, actually too long for a bumper sticker, but great meme content. It's a good slogan. It's something you can post on X real quickly. It's something that you can use as a sound bite at a protest or in a speech. But I think I like the primary as being more thorough.
Mr. Choco.
Okay, so I have a comment, but I first have a point of parliamentary inquiry. So the next, after we debate this, we will vote on whether the substitute becomes the primary, correct? We are
Yes.
not, and then at that point, will we move into a vote on whether or not to adopt that, whatever the primary is, or do we further work on the primary?
There would be further debate, but I believe that there would no longer be amendments. Ms. Harless, can you clarify for that for me, please?
Yes, certainly. And I got a message too from Carrie that says she's been waiting to get into the meeting. Is there someone in the waiting room?
There is now. Yeah, hang on. I got him. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, the time to perfect the primary is now. They're both fully open to amendment, but it's only one level amendment. Once you pick between one or the other, the only thing you can do is add to the primary. You can't go in the middle and mess things around. So if there's any, because the idea of a substitute is you have the two best versions of something going head to head. So you got to perfect both of them.
So let me just clarify something here, Ms. Harlos. So if I didn't like either of these, but I preferred the substitute if something was going to be adopted, I could then vote for the substitute, and then I still have an opportunity to vote against adoption of that, having that become part of our report, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure of that. And then I also have a comment, Mike. Am I good to go ahead and do that?
1/2 second. Thank you, Ms. Harless. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I agree with the previous speaker that the primary is more thorough. That's for sure, and that the substitute is bumper stickery in nature. I prefer the substitute because I don't think that stuff that we added to the end of the primary was helpful, but it's still, we've already said that government contracts are not legitimate. At least we've implied that, or we're hoping that that will be implied in the platform after this convention. So it seems kind of weird to me to contradict ourselves with the primary here. But I do sort of like the idea I do like the idea of a call out to honoring veterans in some sort of way, and the substitute at least gives us some language of that sort. So I will be supporting the substitute, and I'm not sure after that whether I'll be voting to put it into our report or not, but I think it's better than the very wordy primary.
Alrighty, I have Ms. Harlos, Mr. Brooksbank, then myself. And then Mr. Veldhuizen. Ms. Harlos.
Okay, first of all, Mr. Bowman, you and I got to stop agreeing so much. People are going to talk. Yeah, I don't favor putting the substitute in our platform. I don't like bumper stickery, even though I know it's too long for a bumper sticker. I think everyone knows what I meant. In our platform. But I obviously don't have any vote. I wish, and I want to correct something I said before. While once they go head to head, someone could still propose another substitute for the primary, but the primary's done being amended. And then the new substitute could be amended. But I kind of wish people would amend that primary more. It's really a mouthful. And I also always have an issue when it says we believe the best way to do something is X, because there's always going to be somebody who goes, no, that's not the best way. I think we should honor our veterans, but this is better. So I always think it's better to take out those kinds of judgments and just say we should honor our veterans by, and not claiming it's the best way, because I know libertarians, they'll argue about whether that's the best way or not. Like if I were just going to speak off the cuff, I think a better way to word this primary is we believe we should honor our veterans by crafting and implementing policies of non-aggression, recognizing the difference between veterans and the policy. I don't even like the policies that are set out to whatever. And the wars, I don't know, something different there, because they don't really set out policies, they carry out orders. And
Sent out.
Yeah, I get it. I just think this could be cut in half and say the same thing. I can't propose amendments, but I really, really wish people would consider amending this primary a little bit more. Because I do think a lot of people out there want us to make a statement about our veterans, but I can tell you that the best way thing in there, that's trouble. That's trouble with a capital T on the convention floor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Harlos. I'll just say, stay tuned a minute. Mr. Brooksbank.
Yes, I would like to say that I am not in favor of having the replacement as our as the primary. I like the primary. I do like Mr. Rogers' idea if we could amend the replacement to say sort of what Mr. Rogers did say, I would be more in favor, but as it stands now, I am not.
Alrighty, I had put myself in the queue next. Ms. Harlos, your hand's still up. Is that a residue? Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to propose an amendment to the main. And here is what I am going to say. After sent out to implement, striking all of that, what's in highlighted. Takes the contractual commitment part completely out, keeps the veteran part in play of separation of the policies versus the people. And it also it also double states, even because we have it in the main initially, but not in so many words of the original, about non-aggression, no declared wars, and no invasions or occupations. I think that part is very important. So I'm proposing to take what you see in red and strike it as an amendment. Now, Mr. Veldhuis, I still have you on tap for the main debate. Mr. Chokel, did you wish to speak on the main or my amendment?
On your amendment.
Okay, Mr. Veldhuis, do I have you correct for the main?
No, I'd like to talk about the substitute.
Okay, I'll get you down for the substitute after that. Okay. Mr. Brooksbank, same question to you.
The amendment you just put up.
Line everybody up. Mr. Cholko, go ahead.
Okay, so I support this amendment. I think it's a good one. I actually was thinking to make this amendment a long time ago, and I apologize right now for possibly having wasted the last half hour of everybody's time by not doing it. So I think it takes care of most of the concerns that have been mentioned or many of the concerns that have been mentioned with the primary. I think it would make it better than the substitute as well. So yeah, I mean, I think I support it. I think we should go ahead and vote on it and then vote down the substitute and put this thing into our report.
Don't ever apologize for having debate. That's a good thing. Even if it takes a while. Would rather we voice this out and work it out than not. Mr. Brooksbank.
I am not in support of this amendment. And you all know that I'm really in favor of making sure that the promises that were made to our veterans are kept. And I, believe that is a libertarian position. And so if we made promises, we need to keep them, and we need to state that our government needs to keep the promises that they made. So I am against this amendment.
Mr. Benner.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Mr. Chalko's feedback. I think this is the best variant of this that we've discussed so far. This one is the only variant that I would accept to put into the platform. And I didn't agree to any contractual obligations with any veterans, and it's not really my responsibility to pay for that. I didn't sign the social contract either. And I think that this is the best way to go because it doesn't really touch that issue. We obviously have differences of opinion on that, but it's best not to touch that. Thank you.
Mr. Bowman.
Yeah, I think striking the language that you have there in red would weaken, I think, the main reason that this whole thing was added on to begin with. My impression was that there was a feeling that we don't want to leave people high and dry after they had these promises made, maybe promises made by someone who can't keep their promises, and faced, incredible hardship, and at least under their belief in service to this country. Sometimes it really isn't, but and that somehow these people deserve to be taken care of. And I think that is what's being gotten at here. And at the same time, we recognize that the government is promising things with other people's money, and that makes it fraudulent. So where's the middle ground here? And I think the middle ground here is that we find ways to compensate those who had these promises made, who gave a lot, some of them their lives, in lieu of those promises, and find a way to fulfill the promise made that is not violating people's rights, which I believe the language without this being stricken does.
Mr. Brooksbank.
I'm sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay. Is there any further debate on the amendment? Okay, hearing none, and we know that there is objection, we will move to a vote on the amendment. Mr. Secretary, whenever you're ready.
All right, give me a minute. All right, looking at your 3.1 National Defense Veterans document, it's the section that we're voting on is the section highlighted in red. Is that correct?
To strike that, yes.
To strike, okay. That was a substitute?
No, it's just an amendment.
Can you take a quick look at it and make sure I have that correctly? I'd appreciate it. Mr. Chair, did you hear that?
Yeah, 1 second. I have a slight detail here. One moment. Actually, what's up? Hang on. Here we are. Where are we at? There we go. Yes, you have it correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barbour.
No.
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
Bowman.
No.
Brooksbank.
No.
Coco.
Yes.
Eiler.
Yes.
Sir. Enzer. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Roaming.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Leatherman.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
We're going to vote at the end. Thompson.
Yes.
And I'm going to vote nay. Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, say again.
Mr. Chair.
I'm not voting.
I miss anybody? All right, Mr. Chair, I see 1, 2, 9 I, 4 nay, no abstentions, and 1 not voting.
I confirm. So the ayes have it, so this will get stricken. All right, we are back on the main, but Mr. Veldhusen was patiently waiting to speak on the main. So go ahead, sir, and then we'll get to Mr. Johnson.
I was actually waiting to speak on the substitute, we believe
ahead.
the best way. Is that
We're
still
at
in
that-
consideration? Because it seems to me
Yes, it
that
is. It is
Mr.
still in
Cholko
consideration. Go
wanted
ahead.
to maybe withdraw it.
It's still in consideration, so go ahead.
Okay, point of clarification, now that this is passed, does Mr. Cholko want to continue to have that considered?
I think we're way past the point of taking it out, no?
You could ask the body's permission to withdraw it.
I don't really feel like that's appropriate at this point. It's been in here, people have been working with the understanding that it's there for the last 45 minutes or so, so I don't want to withdraw it.
Okay, then I'll speak to it. I'm speaking against it because I don't think it really makes sense, because if you have a military that exists or any kind of national defense force, whether it's a standing military or a National Guard or just militias for the defense of the country, you are going to create extra veterans by the fact that you have attrition. If people leaving the militia or leaving the standing army or the National Guard, and you're going to have other people recruited in, and they're by definition veterans. So just on that basis, I think that sentence doesn't make sense. It's not realistic. That's all I have to say.
All right, 1 second. My pen is just trying not to cooperate with me, which never helps anything. Stand by. Give me 10 seconds. Okay, that's better. I have a pen that works now. I have
Engage.
Mr. Johnson and Mr. Barber. So, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I love where we're getting with this and the first proposal, and I'm back to liking that. In the chat, I put an amendment which I think just strictly improves the wording of there. I'm bothered by the non-aggression, no undeclared wars, that's all sorts of ambiguous and awkward wording in there. I have replacement language in the chat that would replace the implement policies to occupations with the language implement policies to end aggression, undeclared wars, invasions, and occupations. I think that would that would keep the exact same intent, but make it much clearer.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it in here. Okay. That's kind of a short form of what you're proposing.
And then it replaces the word or with and.
Point.
Because we oppose all of those.
All righty. Would you like to speak to your amendment, sir?
No, I think it's pretty clear that this just improves the wording. I don't think this changes the intention at all.
All righty. Mr. Barber, did you wish to speak to the main or to the amendment? Or to the substitute?
No, the substitute.
Okay, I'll leave you in the queue for that for the moment because we're on the amendment to the main. Any further debate on the amendment? Mr. Bowman.
I just wish to say I support it. I think that's great. It's not nearly as clunky with this change, and it's saying better in a better way. It's saying what it said before.
As the original author of the original, I agree completely. It is better worded. Ms. Harlos. You're muted.
I'm sorry. I keep muted so you guys don't have to be tortured with my coughing. Yep, that's like exactly what I was getting at. It's not crazy about having the best way in there still. Still think it'd be better to say we believe in honoring our veterans by crafting and implementing, but whatever, this is way tighter. So I think it's a definite improvement.
Alrighty, is there any further debate on the amendments here? And I say amendments because you have two parts to the same thing. Is there any objection to the amendments? Hearing none, that will pass. Mr. Secretary, do you have this okay?
I'm catching up slowly but surely.
Okay.
Oh my God, Mike, you didn't say it. Don't call me Shirley.
Shirley's not here. Let me know when you're caught up, Mr. Secretary.
That was without objection, is that correct?
Yes, sir. All right, I'm going to adjust this real fast then.
I've got it.
Mr. Chair, is there going to be any opportunity for comment at the end? Because there's something I forgot to let you all know in the beginning.
We'll make space for it.
I'm losing steam fast. This was a rough weekend, as you know.
Well, tell Wayne to close the door. Anyway, all right, we're back on either the main or the substitute, and Mr. Barber was up next.
Right. Yeah, I agree with the other speaker 100% that the substitute essentially would eliminate, well, it would be saying that our desire would be to completely eliminate the military in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that we want to say that. I think we want to say what we're saying more or less in the rest of it, that yes, we do need a sufficient military to defend the United States, which isn't under discussion right at the moment. But in any case, basically saying that we support the maintenance of a sufficient military, and then saying that we don't want any more veterans is contradictory. Yeah, so I definitely don't support the substitute at all. By the way, what would be an appropriate point to discuss a minor amendment to the main?
That would be in order right now.
Well, then I think I will take Ms. Harless's comment to heart and say that we should substitute after, let's see, after veterans is changed to buy. Change craft to crafting. And change implement to implementing. That just seems like better grammar, better phrasing.
Not that you
For
need to take this
information-
into consideration, but just so you know, if you were trying to go with what I said, and again, your choice, it was actually a broader change than that. It was to say, we believe in honoring our veterans by crafting and implementing. So it gets rid of that judgment call of best way, because the libertarians will argue about what the best way is.
You know what? I missed that part. Thank you. Yes, I will go with that too. So
Say that again, please.
We believe in honoring.
I was actually going to propose similar myself anyway, so we have multiple people on the same page. Why this thing keeps shifting stuff around, I don't know. And it's driving me up the damn wall.
Word.
Hold on one second. I apologize for my little decorum there. There we go. Oh, come on. Highlight that. Turn this red. Thank you. Stop. Okay. We got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I meant. Right there.
I'm glad we captured it, and I apologize for the little crazy there, and I appreciate it. Do you wish to speak to that amendment, sir?
Geez, I think Ms. Harlow said it perfectly. It's really just better phrasing, and the comments that a couple of people have said about the best way to phrase. Yeah, I'm taking that to heart, and it makes sense to me too. So yeah, this just seems like better phrasing all the way around.
Mr. Brooksbank.
Yes, I like where we're going with this, but I think our veterans is. I think you need to get rid of that is.
Yeah, but that is shouldn't be there.
We believe the
And I
best
believe
way. We believe
know what?
honor. We believe honoring our veteran. Yeah, okay. Is there any objection to doing a Scrivener's adjustment to strike the is?
No. That's
We want this to sound really stupid, so you have to leave it there.
And
hearing none, I'm going to do that.
Only other comment was that I think
yellow
it would
light.
sound better to say that we believe in honoring our veterans by crafting and implementing policies that end aggression, undeclared wars, invasions, and occupations instead of to.
Almost all of these sound like Scrivener's adjustments.
Say again, Mr. Secretary.
Almost all of these sound like Scrivener's adjustments.
In a way, they really are.
Yes.
Okay. Same question, same yellow light. Any objection to changing two to that?
I don't have a vote, but if the committee would indulge a comment.
Go ahead.
Okay, that seems to imply immediacy, whereas two seems to understand that we can't snap our fingers and do this. I think two is in fact the better word there. But they're probably both right. Then you're gonna have people arguing whether it should be that end aggression or which end aggression, because the perpetual grammar Nazi war between that and which, I know which one's right. That is in fact right here, but you're gonna have that. Two will end that. As you can tell, I'm the veteran of many platform wars.
Mr. Bowman.
just want to say there is a nuance of difference in meaning because the policies to end aggression sound like we're talking about an intent. Policies that end aggression sound like a result, which arguably would be better if achieved, but I'm not sure that policies necessarily are known to achieve something before they're implemented, but usually you end up starting with an intent. But I just want to point that out. I'm not quite, I would support this with either word.
All right, is there any further debate on the amendments? Seeing none, is there any objection to these amendments? Seeing none, those are gonna go in. Let me make some quick adjustments here. All righty. We are back on the main versus the substitute. Hold on. Space needs to go there. Is there any further debate on either the amendment or the substitute? Okay, seeing none, I think we are ready to move to a vote. So the question is that shall the substitute, which says that we believe the best way to honor our veterans is to not make more of them, become the main, which currently says we believe in honoring our veterans by crafting and implementing policies to end aggression, undeclared wars, invasions, and occupations, while recognizing the difference between veterans and the policies that they are, well, excuse me, the policies they are sent out to implement. Is everybody clear on what we're voting on?
So are we voting on replacing the main with the substitute?
That is correct. A yes vote would replace the main with the substitute. A no would reject the substitute, and you still have to adopt the main. Or not. Mr. Secretary, whenever you're ready.
Can you review what I stuck in the minutes there real quick, just to make sure I've got it correctly?
Stand by. Yes, you have it correct.
Sorry, that was Garb.
Barber,
No.
Benner,
No.
Bergman,
No.
Bowman,
No.
Brooksbank,
No.
Chalco,
No.
Eiler, Eiler,
You're muted.
She just put in the chat that she votes no.
Yeah, she's having an audio connection.
Roaming.
No.
By the way, do I have your name spelled correctly? Is it Roming? Mr. Roaming,
Yes, thank you.
ROMING is correct.
No, ROMIG.
Hudson,
No.
Leatherman,
No.
opposed,
No.
Thompson,
No.
vote no, Mr. Chair.
Chair is not voting.
Thank you. See no ayes. I see 13 nays and one not voting. No
14 or
abstentions.
13?
See 13 nays and one
Okay,
not
got it.
voting.
Okay, confirm. I misunderstood you. Confirm that, yes, the substitute fails, so we are back on the main, which remains. At this point, the only thing that we could do to amend this is to add to it. Per Ms. Harlow's guidance earlier. That does not mean we can't debate it any further, although we've kind of beaten that to death. Is there any further discussion or additional amendment by addition to the main motion? Mr. Barber.
I still think that we should have something that says that there is an obligation on the part of the government to support the veterans that we have. How that gets worded, I don't know. But there should be something in there to that effect.
Any further debate or amendment proposed to add? Hearing none, we will move to a vote on this. For the recording, I will read off what this is momentarily here. It is to add to the end of the 3.1 National Defense Plank the following words. We believe in honoring our veterans by crafting and implementing policies to end aggression, undeclared wars, invasions, and occupations, while recognizing the difference between veterans and the policies they are sent out to implement. Mr. Secretary, whenever you're ready.
You want to ask if there's an objection?
I'm sorry, say again, sir?
Did you want to ask if there's objection first?
We're just going directly to a vote.
All right, one moment, please.
Ordinarily, I would say that I would ask if there's an objection, but I think this is important enough to to get the vote on record.
Okay. Would you please look at the bottom of that page where the main motion then became that starts and make sure I have it correctly?
One moment. Sorry, scroll down better. Helps if I get to the right one. Yes. Let's look at the wrong one. Yeah, you have it right.
Okay, thank you. Barber?
Yes.
Yes.
Bergman?
Yes.
Bergman?
Yes.
Brooksbank,
Yes.
Coco,
Yes.
Tyler,
She says yes in the chat.
thank you. Romake,
Come back to me, please.
Hudson,
Yes.
Leatherman,
Yes.
McCose,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
I'm going to vote aye as well, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Romig was passed.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Romake.
I'm going to not vote, or that is
Abstain.
Abstain. Thank you.
Chair is going to actually vote on this one and vote yes.
All right, Mr. Chair, I see all ayes except for one abstention. That means 13-0-0-0. I'm sorry, 13-0-1-0.
Confirmed. The motion passes. Alrighty, next item is 3.4, a new proposal for free trade and migration. It is kind of wordy. One moment, I am going to figure out why in the hell I can't find my screen information for not sharing my screen. Where the heck did my stuff go here? Oh, hang on. Do that, but it's not. There it is. For some reason, the screen had disappeared on me. I apologize for that. So we are here. All right. This one was by Mr. Benner and Mr. Velhusen. It is kind of long. We do have approximately 18 minutes left. However, Ms. Harlos had requested a little time at the end for some extra public comment. So we have about 15 minutes to go into this if the body desires, or we could call this a break point for the evening and pick it up next week. I leave that to Mr. Benner. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would support that. I don't mind starting up with this next session if that's it sounds like that's a good use of time. So I would have no problem with it personally.
Mr. Brooksbank.
Yes, I have no objection with that either. Also.
Mr. Barber.
Ditto.
Mr. Cholko.
I mean, I'm not going to object if everybody wants to stop now, but it's not clear to me what we gain by just throwing away these 15 minutes of time rather than starting work on this now and just taking it back up next week.
Well, I have an idea about that. And I'm going to figure out where in the hell I put this thing because it's not here. One quick moment. There we go. So I am going to move to suspend the rules for a moment to change the order up on our agenda to look at what on the agenda was listed as item 0 for the preamble, only because it's a very short and sweet update. And when I say short and sweet, we're talking changing 4 words. Okay, nothing fancy. That would be a quick, good use of the remaining time. So is there any objection to that suspension? Hearing none, then we will go address that one real quick. Now, let me change the screen to that one. And I believe me when I say this is nice and short. As a matter of fact, it's very simple. And it's very simple. The words in the following pages are of the paper era. We're in the electronic era. The idea is to simply change it to make it say in this platform instead of the pages to reflect that. Doesn't change anything else in the preamble or anything else in the platform. So I'm moving to make that amendment to the preamble. Mr. Benner.
Yeah, just in the spirit of formatting here, it seems like commas are used, and I think a comma should be after in this platform. I know that's not considered generally such a germane thing as to like it would make or break this, but just a suggestion that could be adopted or shut down. Thank you.
Any objection to adding a comma?
I
Hearing
object.
none.
Yes, yeah, yes, yes.
Object.
There is an objection. Okay, well, that would be in an order as an amendment, admittedly. So, Mr. Benner, was that going to be an amendment then?
Yeah, I'll move it if there's an objection.
All right, there is an amendment to add the comma. I hold on one moment. I have some people online here. Real quick, I'm going to ask ask again. Mr. Brooksbank, are you in the main?
Yes.
Mr. Choco, same question.
I want to be on the main, but I also want to speak on the comma now, if that's a thing.
I'll put you in the queue for both. Ms. Harlow, same question.
Yep, both.
Both, okay. And that's everybody on the thing. So, we're on the amendment real fast. So, Mr. Choco.
I mean, if I was writing this, I would certainly be using a comma there. It seems objectively wrong to me to not have it.
Ms. Harlow?
I'm looking up the Chicago Manual of Style. So it's a question. Prepositional phrases beginning sentences, because that's what this is, no longer followed by a comma, question mark. Because remember, we are governed by the Chicago Manual of Style. That's in the bylaws, actually. For starter, the answer is for starters, it isn't a one rule fits all. After a short phrase, which this is, a comma usually isn't necessary. After one that's especially long or whose syntax involves more complex elements, it's a good idea. It says kind of the determinative idea is whether a pause is intended. I guess that's pretty subjective. When I read it, I don't see a pause, but I think after just 3 words, putting in a comma is a prime example of that book of people being comma crazy called, Eats, Shoots, and Leaves, where it's talking about a bear. And this is really an Eats, Shoots, and Leaves example to me. I think commas should be used sparingly. Most people use them far too much.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
Sure.
I still have Mr. Brooksbank, Ms. Choco, and Ms. Harlow into the main. Mr.
Oh,
Bowman?
let me put my hand back.
Yeah, I'm speaking as a comma lover. When I have a statement, when I see a very long sentence that lacks sufficient commas, actually, I think it's best to break things into smaller sentences when possible. But some long sentences, you need the commas to set aside qualifying phrases from the main statements effectively, almost like parentheses. But this is not there. And I actually do things like I write my own style. I'll write however, comma, and then go on with stuff. And I realize, looking at things as an older person after years of this habit, that it really is not necessary and doesn't add anything to the content. And I think that's the case here.
All righty. I will make one statement. I'm a little more of an old school guy who put pauses in wording on writing where I would normally pause to breathe when I speak and when it makes sense. In this case, I don't think it's that big of a deal one way or the other. I still have,
I'd note, Mr. Chair, that what you're striking is an introductory prepositional phrase as well, and it doesn't have a comma after it. So like if we want to make the minimal light touch possible just to transform it from paper to digital, like why don't we just keep the style that's been in there for like 40 years?
because we don't have any fountain, we don't have any quill pens either, but I also understand the point. Is there any further debate on the amendment? Mr. Bowman, you are muted. I don't know if you're trying to speak or not. Okay. Since there is an objection, I'm going to do this a different way rather than have a roll call on this because that's kind of a little bit crazy. I'm going to ask Mr. Brooksbank, Ms. Chilcom, Ms. Harles, put their hands down real fast.
Okay, hold on.
I'm going to do a show of hands on this instead. All those in favor of adding the comma, raise your hands. All righty, keep people still going, okay. All right, hands down, everybody. All those opposed? Abstentions?
I can't raise my hand for some reason, but I'd like to abstain.
All right. The ayes have it, 7-5, with one abstention. Okay, we're back on the main motion. It's very simple. Strike in following in the following pages, replace it with in this platform, comma. I had Mr. Brooksbank, Mr. Choko, and Ms. Harlos in the queue. Mr. Brooksbank, go ahead.
I am in favor of this, and I would encourage people to vote for it. And thank you for proving my point that we will argue over commas any day.
Mr. Choko.
So I think this is a improvement, but I don't think it's important. I'm not going to support it because we've passed a bunch of stuff already. We're probably going to pass more. We got far too much stuff that we can possibly get in our 90 minutes of time at the convention. So I just don't see this being worthwhile spending time on. And I know that I have argued in the past that we should just pass everything we want and then order it such that unimportant things get pushed way down the list. But I think this is so unimportant that I don't even want to add to the number of proposals with this. It's just not a big enough deal to be worthwhile.
Ms. Harlos? You're muted.
I'm going to speak the exact opposite of Mr. Choko. I've made this argument on bylaws, so none of this will be a surprise to Mr. Seebeck, but I've also made this argument when I'm on platform before, so it shouldn't be a surprise to Mr. Choko as well. Even though there is only 90 minutes, proposals are sales. You want to get people used to saying yes. you want a really easy one to start with. This is a perfect proposal one. To get people used to saying yes and to view the body as non-threatening. Libertarians get their quills up over bylaws changes and platform changes. We hate change. We view all kinds of committees, as you've seen all the conspiracy theories, with suspicion. This one is so innocuous. It makes us look like a sweet little poodle that they just want to pet. So I actually love this as a first proposal. However, I'm going to tell you guys, it's not going to pass without objection because someone's going to omit that comma. That comma was a mistake, and a future secretary is going to omit that comma. I'm just telling you as the voice of experience, but it's already passed. I'll love it when I get to say I told you so. But I actually had something else to say. I can't make an amendment. I can't make an amendment. However, just food for thought. Do you want it to say in this platform, or in order to make it more personal and fit the style of the rest of the sentence, should it say in our platform? I don't really care one way or another. I think in our platform is better, but that's up to you guys.
I'll admit that this there was pulled from my habit of saying in these bylaws. I brought it over here. Mr. Bowman.
I like the change. I think yeah, I get annoyed by obsolete speech, like people who talk about, oh, that he pulled out his phone and caught it on tape, and I'm like, they fit a VHS in that little thing. So yeah, get rid of the arcane language. Why not? Because it doesn't have to be a page. It's just there are words. But about the comma, I'm sorry to go back there, but I think this is germane. If the Chicago style manual is a bylaws matter, it is indeed possible that this could be approved in the convention. The convention could end and someone could appeal this nonetheless. And if the judicial committee agrees that the bylaws and with citing the Chicago style menu trump this addition to the platform, it might end up getting this change may end up getting removed anyway.
I can speak for the judicial committee on this because both Mr. Montoni and I are on it. We would probably laugh that one out of appeal.
It would be out of scope. And Mr. Bowman, you're used to Michigan's judicial committee, which has a much broader scope of authority than the national one does. The national one only has authority over the platform if it can be claimed it violates the statement of principles. That's the only authority it has over the platform. So this would never, ever be able to be appealed. The things that are able to be appealed to our National Judicial Committee when it comes to the bylaws are decisions of the LNC or disaffiliations, and that's still a decision of the LNC. Platform changes, the Judicial Committee is limited only to considering if it violates the statement of principle, and however offensive I find that comma, it's not committing aggression against me.
Mr. Thompson, you were still in the queue.
No, I'm good, but we have 1 minute.
Ready. Mr. Bowman, is your hand still up to speak, or okay? Is there any further discussion on this main motion? I'll ask, is there any objection to this motion?
Yes.
Since there is an objection, we will have to move to a vote. Mr. Secretary, whenever you're ready. Ms. Harless, you wanted to make a public comment. I know we're up on time, so if you want to make it right now while the secretary is preparing the vote, go right ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you, it's more to the chair, but the committee also, has say in all of this stuff. I've talked to you about it already. The Survey Monkey, it's not a butt monkey, Mr. Bowman. It is a Survey Monkey. That has become an inside joke with us, is purchased. So if you want to get with me about sending out some of this stuff for survey, let me know, because I want to get an email ready to the send over to our staff over the weekend.
I'll whip something up.
I
It'll be based on
I think that was it.
it'll be based on what we passed so far, not anything further, so.
Yeah. That was it. I just wanted to let you know because I just got the email during the meeting.
Sure. Mr. Secretary, whenever you're ready.
Robert,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Bergman,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Brooksbank,
Yes.
Choco,
No.
Tyler,
Yes.
Mr. Romig,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Heatherman,
Yes.
McCullough,
Abstain.
I'm going to vote yes. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Seebeck, would you like to vote?
Chair will vote yes. No one proposed it, so.
All right, Mr. Chair, I see. I see 12 aye, 1 nay, and 1 abstention.
Confirmed. So that passes. All righty, we are past time, but we got the vote in. So we are at adjournment at 10:02. I will momentarily stop the recording here as soon as I can figure out where the hell the button is. There it is.